Hello everyone, Prasad Domala here. Today I'll show you how to install and configure Oracle Enterprise Manager Cloud Control 13C Release 1. And this is the latest version of OEM Cloud Control as of making this video. OEM Cloud Control is a central management and monitoring solution which is capable of managing and monitoring many Oracle and third-party products as well. It can be integrated with middleware, database, Exadata, Siebel, PeopleSoft, and many third-party products like Microsoft IIS, SQL Server, and MySQL. OEM is also capable of sending alerts and notifications based on the metric thresholds set by administrators. By default, it comes bundled with Fusion middleware, database, Exadata, and Cloud Framework plugins. You can always add additional plugins to OEM based upon your needs. That's a brief intro on OEM. Now let me show you how we can build an OEM 13C environment on a virtual machine. The service of OEM is generally referred as OMS, that is Oracle Management Service. So if I say OMS, don't get confused. It's nothing but OEM service. And also please note that OEM is very resource hungry in terms of physical RAM and disk. So it requires a good hardware to run on. I'm using a single virtual machine for both OMS repository database and OMS itself. For the demo, I'm using a virtual machine with 12 gigs of physical RAM and 80 gigs of hard disk space. If you have a VM with less disk space, please do check my video on how to increase your virtual hard disk size on a Linux virtual machine. I'll leave the link in the description. Let me tell you about my environment now. As I said, I'm using Oracle Linux 6.7 64-bit virtual machine, and we need a database. I'm using Oracle Database 12.1.02 release for my OMS repository. We'll be installing OEM 13C release 1, that is 13.1.0.0. I have already built my virtual machine and installed 12.1.02 release of the database. Let me briefly give you an overview of the steps we'll be performing today. First, we'll look into some Linux operating system package requirements for OMS and management agent as well. So if you don't know already, management agent is a software that is installed on each monitored host or target, which is responsible to manage and monitor that particular host and communicate the metrics and other management information to the central OMS. Next, we'll set some OS kernel parameters as well as database prerequisite parameters. And finally, we'll jump into installing our OEM product itself. So let's get started with OS package requirements. These are the packages required for OMS and management agent. Most of these might be already installed along with your operating system, but please verify the versions. The version should be equal to or higher than the version specified here. Let me show you how you can check packages and install them if not present on a Linux machine. To check a package, you can run rpm-qa and then grep package name, say for example make. So it will give you the package name if it's installed and the version as well. So if you don't see any output here, that means the package is not installed. So you can install the packages using yum utility on your Linux machine. So for that you need to log in as root, and then you can search for the package using yum search and then your package name, say for example make. So you can see the results here. You can select whatever package you want to install here, say for example make x86-64, and then you can run yum install and then your package name. For me it will complain that make is already installed. Okay, so this is how you install a package on your Linux machine. If your server does not have access to internet, you can manually download the RPMs and install using rpm-i command. So after all the required packages are installed, you need to set a couple of kernel parameters, kernel.shmmax and port range. So both these parameters can be set in your etc sysctl.conf. So let me open that. You need to log in as root to make these changes. This is the file. Let me search for kernel.shmmax SHM max should be 4 GB. And let me search for port range. The port range should be 11,000 and 65,000. So I'll change it to 11,000 and 65,000. Okay, these are the two OS parameters you need to set. Save this file and reboot your server once. Let me reboot quickly and come back. Okay, my server is back now. I'm logged in as Oracle. Next, you need to make sure that Oracle user is created and it's added to oinstall group. I have my user and group already created during the OS installation. Next, you need to set a parameter on the database. You need to set optimizer adaptive features to false. So let me check the parameter first by running show parameter. So the parameter is true by default. So let me change it to false. Alter system set optimizer underscore adaptive underscore features is equal to false. Scope is equal to both. And I'll set this for all the SIDs. So I'll give SID is equal to star. Okay, let me check the parameter again. So it is set to false, but it's always better to restart your database after altering your system. So let me quickly restart and come back. Okay, my database is back now. Now all our prerequisites are complete. Before jumping into the installation, let me show you the core components installed during our OEM installation. These are the core components that will be installed as part of the installation. Oracle WebLogic Server 12c and JDK. Please note that pre-installed JDK is not supported for this release. So if you have the JDK already installed, don't use it. Oracle Management Service 13c release 1 and Management Agent 13c release 1. Then it will install Oracle JRF 12c release 1. It will also install WebTire 12c release 1. And finally Oracle BI Publisher 12c release 1. So these are all the core components that will be installed. And before installing OEM, you need to keep a couple of things in mind. First, you need to make sure that Oracle Home and Oracle SID are not set on the terminal where you are running the installer. Also, you should not have any Oracle directories in your path environment variable. If you have the database on the same host as mine here, you might have already set DB Oracle Home and Oracle SID. You need to unset them before installation. Your installation might fail if you have those variables set. So once you start your database, unset all those DB related environment variables and log into your new terminal. So let me do that quickly. So this is my profile file. Let me comment everything here. Okay, everything is commented out. Let me log into your new terminal. Okay, my Oracle SID is unset now. So I'll run the OEM installer from this terminal. You also need to ensure that this middleware home and WebLogic is used only for OEM because OEM cannot coexist with any Fusion middleware product. And one final thing you need to do before running the installer is to create config and cluster directories for your BI Publisher installation. So the installer will not create these directories, so we need to create manually. So let me do that quickly. mkdir-p, and then I'll put them under U01 app, Oracle product BIP config, and then we need to create another directory, cluster. Okay, now it's time for our OEM installation. Make sure all steps I mentioned earlier are done before running the installer, otherwise your installation might fail. I'm telling you this because the installation and configuration process takes approximately 3 to 3.5 hours based on your system's hardware. You don't want to reinstall just because the prerequisites are not met. So make sure you have done all the steps I mentioned earlier. I am in my software directory. The software is huge, around 6.5 gigs. Make sure you verify the checksum of each file so that your file is not corrupted while uploading to the server. You get one bin file and 4 zip files here, as you can see. You don't need to unzip the software here. It will be done automatically. So you need to make sure that your temp directory has at least 10 gigs of free space. And one thing you need to do, you need to provide execute permissions to this bin file. Let me do that. You can now run the installer by typing in / and then the bin file. The installer should start now. Okay, this is your OEM welcome screen. You can uncheck the security updates here and click next. Confirm. You can skip the software updates as well. Okay, now your prerequisite check will start. Make sure all the prerequisites are met. We have a warning here. It says that glibc-devel is not installed, the i686 version, that is 32-bit version. Let me quickly check that. That's glibc-devel. Okay, it's now installed. Let me rerun the prerequisite check again. Okay, now everything is successful. You can click next here. Now you have an option to select either simple installation or advanced installation. Simple installation takes all the default values for your ports, domain name, instance name, admin users, domain and instance paths, etc. If you want to customize any of these, you can select the advanced and you will get additional screens to provide your customized values. You can also select additional plugins to install apart from the default ones in advanced installation. For my demo, I am going ahead with the default values. So select simple here and click next. Now you need to specify the paths for your middleware home directory, agent base directory and host name. So I will give mine as /u01 app Oracle product. I'll call it as OEM FMW. And then my agent base directory u01 app Oracle product agent. I'll call it agent underscore 13c and OEM FMW underscore 13c. And then you need to provide the host name. The installer will not accept local hosts, so you should change your host name and add it to your etc host file if you're using a virtual machine. My host name is Oracle Linux 6 dot local domain and click next. You can ignore this warning. Next, the administrator password. As we have selected simple installation, the installer uses same password for all the accounts, that is your WebLogic, Node Manager, MDS and Sysman. In advanced installation, you will have an option to provide different password for each account. You can always change them later if you wish to. So I am providing my administrator password. Okay, and then the database connection details. So my database host name is Oracle Linux 6. Port 1521. And SID, in Oracle Database 12c, you have something called as Container DB and Pluggable DBs. OEM will not accept Container DB. You should provide Pluggable DB. Your DBA can help you with that. In my case, the Pluggable DB service name is pdborcl.localdomain. And then my sys password. Okay, it says that Oracle strongly recommends using the AL32 UTF-8 character set, but for demo purposes you can ignore it. But in production environments, it's always advisable to set this character set to UTF-8. I'm clicking OK here. And then it will temporarily disable your CBO stats gathering and set max and minimum parallel servers to a lower value. Next, you need to provide locations for your software library and BI publisher. Software library is a location where OEM stores all your software entities such as patches, agent and plugin software, and will be used as part of provisioning process during your upgrades and agent installs from the OEM console. And this is optional. You can either configure it now or can be configured after the installation from OEM console, but it's recommended to configure it during the installation itself. I'll leave the software library location, the default one. If you want, you can change it here. Next, you need to specify the directories for BI publishers config and cluster volume. These are the directories you created earlier, the config and cluster directories. If you're planning to set up multi-OMS environments, make sure you always create these directories on a shared location like an FS, which is mounted on all your OMS nodes. You also have an option to enable BI Publisher by default. If you don't enable it now, you can always enable it and start it using emctl config commands. Click next here. This is the summary screen. Please make note of the default ports that will be used for your installation and click install. And then your installation and configuration should begin. This process is time consuming. It will approximately take around 2.5 to 3 hours to complete. I'll pause the video here and get back when the process is complete. Okay, after approximately 3 hours, the installation and configuration process is complete and you'll be asked to run the root script. But before doing that, let's take a look at the configuration steps performed. So here, as you can see, first it does the plugins prerequisite check, and then repository configuration, MDS schema configuration, BI publisher schema configuration, OMS configuration, and it deploys your plugins, and then BI publisher configuration, and finally it starts your OMS. And then your agent configuration is done. You can view the logs by clicking on these links for each and every step. Now let's run the root script. So this is the script here. It will be under your OEM middleware home, all root.sh. So let me log into another console as root. Okay, the execution is complete. You can click OK here. And this is your summary screen. It will provide you the URLs of your Enterprise Manager, Cloud Control, Admin Server, and BI Publisher. Now let's check out the consoles. First, let's access our WebLogic console, which will be running on 7102. Log in with your WebLogic ID. Okay, this is your WebLogic administration console's home page. Navigate to servers, and here you can see your managed servers. Okay, this is your admin server, and then you have a managed server for OMS and another managed server for your BI publisher. Next, let's look at the OEM console itself. That will be running on your 7802 port /EM. Okay, this is your EM console login page. Here you need to log in with your Sysman account. If you have worked with previous versions of OEM, you might find this look and feel is completely different here. Log in with your Sysman account. When you are logging in for the first time, it will ask you for your accessibility preference. You can just click save and continue here, and then you will get the license agreement. Accept the license agreement. Next, you will be asked to select your home page template. Depending on your role, you can select any of these templates. You have templates for database, you have templates for middleware, you have templates for SOA. So here I am selecting middleware as my template. You can change this later if you want to. Okay, this is your OEM Cloud Control middleware home page. You can see different targets here. You can expand target type, and you have one WebLogic server. This is your OEM domain. That's it. You now have a fully functional Oracle Enterprise Manager Cloud Control 13c environment. You can add different targets to your OEM and monitor them. I'll be making more videos on some of the basic administration tasks on OEM. So please do subscribe to my YouTube channel to get notified. And also please check my blog for all the commands I used in this video along with screenshots. I'll leave the link in the description. Hope you all liked the video and found it helpful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.